about this? A sitting congressman endorses NewsNation while appearing on CNN.
I blame the media for a lot of the divisiveness in this country because it depends on which channel you watch, you're going to get a different spin. NewsNation, and I watched it for 15 minutes and they told stories, the border and Pelosi. It's so refreshing to hear a news channel that doesn't bias the viewers one way or another.
I'm going to talk to him coming up, Congressman Desjardins of Tennessee, about what's wrong with the media. That's ahead. Also, the Los Angeles Police Department has a new person in charge of its civilian oversight panel, and he says defunding the police is not an option. He joins us tonight as well. Plus, this.
What does the future look like for Amon Gordon?
I would say bad.
Also, part 3 of our exclusive series on the fight to get injured NFL players the settlement money they were promised. Amon Gordon, 9-year NFL pro, diagnosed with dementia, tells his story for the first time. The Donlon Report starts right now. Good evening. It is great to have you with us. We've had a lot on our plates lately with a COVID resurgence, new mask recommendations from the CDC, all that's happening in D.C., and, of course, the Olympics. So tonight, we're going to shift back to a topic that has dropped off the front pages, the situation at the border, and a headline that caught our attention. It comes from McAllen and the city manager there, Roy Rodriguez, who considers the situation in his community to be dire. He said this week, "I think we're at the worst right now." And that's saying something, considering the number of migrant encounters has hovered around 180,000 every month for the last 4 months, shattering previous record numbers. CBP reports they've encountered more than 1 million migrants this fiscal year so far. That's more than in all of fiscal year 2019, which was then considered a humanitarian crisis itself. So as the headline suggests, it is getting worse. The main humanitarian center at the border in McAllen is over capacity. They're turning people away who are in some cases sleeping on the streets and sidewalks or depending on charities for shelter. A judge and McAllen officials are urging the Department of Homeland Security to stop releasing migrants and pause family releases to protect their own community. Despite those pleas, the buses keep coming. A church took in 300 people. The Salvation Army took in another 100, and it wasn't enough. Governor Greg Abbott yesterday announced he was deputizing the National Guard to help state troopers make arrests on the border. Another headline we will cover tonight. In fact, it's where we start. And we want to take you directly to La Jolla, Texas, where Sandra Sanchez from Border Reports joins us now. Sandra, we hear the numbers. We see the pictures. You've been covering this for months now. Put this into perspective for us. How bad is it right now?
You know, thanks for having me. As Roy Rodriguez told me yesterday, it is the worst that we have seen. The surge of migrants began in early February and had largely been helped by Catholic charities in the Rio Grande Valley, which has helped to test migrants to provide them shelter and places to get a hot meal and a place to rest. Volunteers would walk them across the street to the bus station or help them make travel arrangements on airplane tickets. But then the shelter became over capacity as COVID rates skyrocketed. That forced the shelter to actually, for the first time in 7 years, shut its doors to new migrants. And what that caused was almost a domino effect. Right. Across the street is where the migrants are tested. Let me walk you through this. Department of Homeland Security brings the migrants in large buses to this corner. And the first stop that they make is into this building, Hollywood Fashion, that used to be a retail store, which is now a COVID testing facility. Anyone who tests positive is held there, and there are other arrangements made for them. Those who do not are allowed to cross the street and enter the Humanitarian Respite Center. Except there are too many people there, so they had to shut the doors to new migrants, and that forced a few dozen people to sleep on the streets overnight, Monday evening into Tuesday morning. Now, this afternoon, however, we had some game-changing news just happen a couple of hours ago from the governor, who said that he was no longer going to allow any organization other than law enforcement to transport migrants with COVID. So Catholic charities have been the ones that have been taking these COVID positive migrants to area hotels, about 10 hotels. I'm in the city of La Jolla. I'm about 20 miles from McAllen. And behind me is a hotel they were taken to. Under these new orders, they can no longer be brought here by anyone but a DPS trooper or a federal officer.
All right. Senator Sanchez, Border Report, thank you so much for the update down there in La Jolla near McAllen. Appreciate that. Border Patrol agents say they caught a registered sex offender who was trying to sponsor a 16-year-old migrant. That teen had crossed illegally, and it calls into question how unaccompanied minors are ultimately released. Agents noticed red flags in this teenage girl's case and found the California man's sex offender history before they released the teenager. This story segues perfectly into our next guest, Jason Piccolo. He blew the whistle on this very problem with sponsors. Jason, let's start with that. When was that, and how were you able to blow the whistle on this?
Well, I used to work for the White House Security Council's DHS Human Smuggling Cell. I was part of a select group that was charged with stopping these smuggling organizations from bringing kids into the U.S. And what I discovered, this was back in 2015, that the government was releasing a lot of these kids to unvetted sponsors, who a lot turned out to be criminals.
So what changed since you brought this to light? Were there policy changes as a result?
There was. In 2018, they started vetting the sponsors, i.e., conducting criminal history checks and actually taking fingerprints of potential sponsors in order to vet out anybody who could have a criminal history or any criminal intent.
All right, so this particular case that we just mentioned, Jason, appears to be great detective work, but when we checked, I think there are still 15,000 unaccompanied minors in U.S. custody right now, and that number is more like almost 80,000 since January who've passed through. So it certainly begs the question, how many others are actually being released to questionable sponsors, if you will? They can't catch them all.
Well, take a look at it this way. Health and Human Services are the one that actually releases the children. They're not a law enforcement agency. They use a contracted sponsor facility to release these children out. Category 3, there's actually 4 categories, lets them release children to people who are not their family members, to adults. And for the audience out there, just so you understand, it's not just teenagers coming across the border. You heard a story of a 16-year-old. There's actually babies on up through teenagers. So there's, let's just take a for instance. If you have 45,000 children that have been released since, I believe, October, even if there's a few percent of that, how many thousands end up in potentially sex trafficking situations or other nefarious incidents?
Right, and it's impossible to know and to catch in a background check all of them, I'm sure, or at least very difficult. So what would happen, I'm sure people are wondering, Jason, if the U.S. didn't shelter these minors, if they were turned back or expelled?
The humanitarian in me says they would end up in even dire situations. So the only safe haven I say is we need to go back and we need to start vetting these sponsors again. We need to start running criminal histories. We need to take fingerprints, and we actually need DNA, because how many times can a baby or a small child be able to identify if it's a family member they're being released to?
I want one more question from you, Jason, if we can get it. We had a change from the Biden administration saying it would begin removing migrant families faster once they determined that they didn't qualify for asylum. Will that work, and what will it mean?
The asylum process is so long, they're going to have to actually ramp up that. And, I mentioned before, one of my other appearances, that we need to have a certain amount of immigration judges and more asylum officers. So that needs to be part of the budget, and we need to really ramp up this immigration process.
It is a change. Jason Piccolo, thank you very much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to shift now to COVID, and a headline we're expecting to hear more about tomorrow. President Biden is scheduled to announce that all civilian federal employees must get a COVID vaccine or submit to regular testing. A similar policy announced today for state employees in New York. We're joined now by Republican Congressman Scott DesJarlais from Tennessee. Congressman, you're also a doctor, so let's start with that COVID news. It sounds like the details of this will be released tomorrow. Maybe they're still working them out. Mandates for vaccines. Are you on board with this?
Not mandates for vaccines. I think that you just got to look at the numbers, and I think you need to talk to your doctor. I feel like people have lost some faith in the CDC and certainly the political talking heads and even politicians. What I tell my patients are just look at the numbers. If you follow the science, if you're 30 and older, 99.5% of the deaths occurred in that age group. If you go to 50, 95%. So in other words, the older you get, the higher the risk. And so if you're 50 or older and you haven't been vaccinated, you're probably at pretty high risk. If you're under 30 or under 20, certainly if you don't have other conditions, you might want to look at what the side effects are. We're still learning. Guillain-Barré syndrome, other cardiomyopathies and things are coming out. So CDC, is basing some studies on some unpublished documents that we haven't really seen yet. We were told to put masks back on here in the House.
Right.
We talked to the House physician. There's a lot of dissension among the ranks right here. It seems kind of punitive.
What about healthcare workers? Are you for mandates for them?
Yeah, I don't know that you should mandate anybody because I'm vaccinated. If I'm standing next to someone that's not, they're not really a threat to me. There are still personal rights, but I think that if you study the science and talk to your doctor and you have other conditions, they're probably going to recommend you get the vaccine if you're a certain age with certain conditions.
Do you think we'll lose federal workers, civilian workers, as a result of this?
I'm sure that there will be some. I've got a 14-year-old daughter that they're strongly encouraging, but kids under 17 are about a fraction of a percent of the deaths, and the side effects we're seeing in kids tend to almost be higher than the shot. So you kind of got to weigh that out as a parent. And not many kids have been vaccinated, so we're taking a little bit of a wait and see. My wife's an RN, and the jury's kind of still out on that.
Congressman, we're a startup here, and we are trying to do things a little differently. We caught what you said about us last night on CNN. For our viewers who are watching us instead of CNN, we're going to play a clip of it. We'll talk after.
Okay. I blame the media for a lot of the divisiveness in this country because it depends on which channel you watch. You're going to get a different spin. I accidentally watched a channel the other night my wife Amy put on. It was NewsNation, and I watched it for 15 minutes, and they told stories, the border and Pelosi. I couldn't tell which channel it was. I asked her. She didn't know, and I had to look up. And it's so refreshing to hear a news channel that doesn't bias the viewers one way or another, and we need more of that if we're going to move forward as a country.
Congressman, we're glad you found us. I guess the question, at first anyway, is why you blame the media for a lot of the divisions we see today.
Well, I grew up in the 70s, and we kind of made fun of the Soviets for state-run media and propaganda. And when you watch TV today, that's pretty much what you're going to get. There's a real mistrust of the media. And I think they're down around 30% if you ask people if they trust the media. And so, if you're on the right, you may watch Fox News. You kind of know what you're going to get. If you're on the left, same deal. When I was talking with Chris Cuomo last night, I could tell it's kind of an antagonistic thing. And it seems like, there's no escape anymore, whether it's sports or whether it's Hollywood or it's musicians. There's nowhere to go to escape politics. And when you expect that up here, it's Washington, it's going to be political, but the country is headed in the wrong direction. There's critical race theory, cancel culture, wokeness, this and that, and so many things that are dividing our country, racial divides.
But the problem is with the facts, Congressman. That's the thing, is that we're arguing over facts that some people see differently and don't even agree on.
Right, and people have the right to make up their own mind, but if you're going to watch most shows, they're going to spin it in a way that, they're telling you what to believe, and most people want to figure that out for themselves. So when I was watching your program the other night, which I had not heard of, I'm sorry, but I just thought, wow, this is incredible. I don't know which way they're spinning, and I kind of researched you and thought, this is what we need more of. We need to let people watch, let people decide and think for themselves.
We do appreciate it, and that is the mission here. Congressman, it's great to have you. Scott Desjardins, we'll be in touch. I know there are a lot more issues coming down the pike. You got a bridge in your state that's about to reopen soon that we've heard a lot about. Perhaps we'll talk to you about infrastructure and more down the road. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joe.
The new head of the LAPD Civilian Oversight Panel says defunding the police is not on the table. He joins us next to discuss how to lower crime and reform the department. And a disturbing report finds Iran plotting cyber attacks that could lead to exploding cargo ships. That story is ahead. Don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report on Twitter. Violent crime in Los Angeles up this year, according to the LAPD. Murders so far this year up 29%, assaults up 10%, violent crime overall 5%. In fact, compared to 2019, murders up by 48%. With that as a backdrop, attorney William Briggs enters as the LAPD Civilian Oversight Panel president, just promoted. And with those crime spikes, he says, don't defund the police. According to Briggs to the LA Times, our communities of color that are most impacted by crime cannot afford to go without law enforcement. And William Briggs joins us right now. It's great to have you, sir. You've spent your whole life in L.A., and your resume is impressive. You went to law school at Georgetown. You've done entertainment law, contract, employment, First Amendment. You've worked on LA's retirement system. You've done school board work. What made you want to shift to police?
Joe, it was a matter of timing. The mayor and some folks came to me. They looked at the troubles that were happening last June and early May among the civil unrest resulting from the death of George Floyd. And they said that they wanted some new leadership on the commission to help implement certain reforms. I made it clear at that time that I was not in the camp of defunding the police. And the mayor said neither was he. And I said, good, then we can work together and help to reform the police in those areas where it's needed the most. And so I decided to join the commission, which, as you understand, is the oversight body for the Los Angeles Police Department.
Right. You were appointed back in December, so you've been on the ground there for 6 months or 7 months or so. I'm curious what your main takeaway is at this point.
So my main takeaway, Joe, and one of the things that I made clear when I joined the commission was I wanted to get out. I wanted to see the men and women who actually protect our city. So I took it upon myself to visit all 21 divisions in our department. And seeing it from the ground up, what they see on a daily basis, what they go through, and the public safety measures that they undertake, as well as their sincere desire to help the citizens of our city, I learned that we don't need less police. We need more officers like that who are like-minded, who want to serve our citizens and protect them. As you mentioned early on, there is a spike in homicides, shooting in our city that is simply intolerable.
Right.
And the particularly bad point of it is it affects communities of color more than anything else. And so I don't think that the answer is less police. I think it's more.
You have your critics, though, William, and they say that they want to see more of the budget dedicated to social services and resources for drugs and things of that nature to take that off of police plates. Can you do both?
Joe, I think we can do both. I think that the answer is in a program that we initiated here in Los Angeles, which is a private-public partnership with the D.D. Hirsch Foundation. For example, they handle suicide calls, and we have, as the commission, we just authorized additional monies so that they can go 24/7 as opposed to simply 8 hours a day. That's an example of where the public sector and the private sector can come together and deal with those issues that most people are saying we should divert some resources to other agencies that can help. And mental health crisis in our country, and this city in particular, is one of those areas.
Numbers I saw today, William, have the force down at least 500 officers. How hard will it be, in your opinion, and how long will it take to staff back up?
So, Joe, I'm just going to give you a correction. The actual number is 631 officers that we're down. And I think that that's horrible. That's the complete attrition rate that I just got before coming on with you this evening. We have been authorized, thanks to the mayor, to increase the force by 750 officers. I think that that's a good start. I don't think that that's going to be able to keep up with the attrition rate, but I do think that that's headed in the right direction.
Well, you have a big job ahead, and you're to be commended for sure for taking it on, because it is certainly community service that I'm sure is appreciated, considering all the other things you could have done and have done in your past. So we wish you all the best moving forward, William. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Joe.
Meantime, the Democratic mayor of Seattle, Jenny Durkan, is calling for more police after a weekend series of shootings. 250 Seattle police officers have either quit or retired just in the past 17 months. We cannot continue on this trajectory, the mayor said. In Minneapolis, the city is fighting a judge's ruling to beef up the city's police force to 730 officers. Residents in North Minneapolis argued cutting officers violated a city charter. Hennepin County Judge Jamie Anderson agreed, but the city council has also given the okay to a ballot initiative replacing the city's police department with a public safety department, basically starting from scratch. Voters will decide on that in November. Iran is plotting ways to sink cargo ships and blow up fuel pumps at gas stations using cyber attacks. According to documents obtained by Britain's Sky News, Iran would tap into a ship's stability system, but instead send a command remotely aimed at essentially sinking the vessel. Other information indicated attackers would hack fuel pumps at gas stations, control them remotely, and create an explosion. Leland Vittert, host of On Balance, here now. And it sounds a bit odd to hear this, Leland, but after what we've seen hacked, I guess we should expect just about anything. But how realistic do you think this is?
Anything's possible. It doesn't seem all that realistic in terms that they would actually do this, but it does give you an insight into how sort of devious the Iranians are and how the IRGC is turning these hacker groups loose to sort of freelance on their own and figure out kind of what mischief you can create around the world. And the issue is that Iran doesn't have to be right 100% of the time. So all of these plots that they come up with can fail, or people can get arrested, or the hacks can be found out before they do real damage. They only have to be right once or twice to make an enormous difference. And that's what the Iranians have found out. That's what Hezbollah, their terror group, uses and counts on.
This also sounds a bit like something we would have heard from Russia and some of the third-party attackers we've caught over there, or we think we've caught anyway, or China, which we have accused as well of some pretty major hacks, including Microsoft. How possible is this for Iran potentially to pull off?
Iran's pretty good at what they do in the cyber world. And you think about this isn't high-level hacks. This isn't hacking a nuclear power plant or doing what the Chinese did, which was stealing data from the U.S. government. This is pretty low-level stuff, right? The security systems at the local gas stations aren't that high from their IT perspective, nor are they that sophisticated on ships. So it's low-level stuff that can make a big impact. It does go to this point, though, that if you think about 2019, after the U.S. killed Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, which runs a lot of these programs and runs sort of the hybrid warfare of the Iranian regime, okay, they all stopped for about a year and a half. It's only recently now, because the Biden administration has sort of taken their boot off the neck of Iran and wants a new Iran nuclear deal, that the Iranians have started allowing this mischief to occur once again.
All right, we'll hear if the warning's been heeded. Leland, thank you very much. You'll see his show coming up here at the top of the hour, just about 30 minutes from right now. On Balance, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Stay tuned for that. A 9-year NFL veteran now suffering from dementia. Anand Gordon is the subject of part 3 of an exclusive report on the NFL and CTE that you will only see here. Gordon speaking out for the first time, says the NFL denied his share of that massive concussion settlement because of race.
I don't get it. It's not a game. It's not a mystery. I have real physical data.
This news breaking right now. The bipartisan infrastructure bill in the Senate is indeed bipartisan. The bill reaching 67 votes moments ago to avoid a filibuster, meaning it is headed for a final vote in the Senate. Democrats got 67 votes, 7 more than they needed to avoid that filibuster. Now to our third and final installment in an exclusive series on NFL brain injury settlements. First, we heard from 2-time Super Bowl champ Leonard Marshall. His settlement claims have been denied. Last night, certified neurologists told us they recommended in favor of claims that were also either appealed or denied. And tonight, we hear the story of veteran defensive lineman Anand Gordon, including the day he learned he had lesions on his brain and what happened after that. Here's NewsNation's investigative reporter, Rich McHugh.
I grew up watching Walter Payton, wanted to be like Bo Jackson, period.
After attending Stanford, playing in the NFL was a dream come true for Anand Gordon. He spent 9 years as a defensive lineman in the NFL, ending his career with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2012.
God blessed me with certain talents, to be able to, move forward and progress and make a living. At the same time, in the same breath, it certainly does take a lot from you, too.
He began to realize just how much, though, in 2013, when, out of the blue, he had a panic attack at a restaurant.
I didn't know what it was for my heart to be jerking.
He called me in the bathroom and he said, I cannot breathe. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you have a panic attack? Like, you played football, in front of thousands of people. Why are you having a panic attack at a restaurant? So that was kind of the beginning.
The panic attacks continued. He saw a team of doctors and had an MRI.
He called me on the phone in the car crying, and he said, my brain is gone. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, there's lesions all over my brain. It's bleeding. It was bleeding when I was playing. I go, what do you mean bleeding when you were playing? He said, when I was playing in Kansas City, right now, my brain's been bleeding. He goes, I have so much damage
What was that like when you visited that doctor in Chicago and he told you there was bleeding on your brain?
Just kind of breathtaking, to kind of actually see.
Gordon was diagnosed with early onset dementia.
Every year since then has been downhill for his condition. I mean, sensitivity to light, attention span, get irritated, forgetting to pick up our son from school.
Dr. Mohammed Ahmed, a board-certified neuropsychiatrist at the Kaizen Brain Center in San Diego. He's been working with Gordon for over 2 years.
So in your clinical judgment, Amon Gordon has traumatic brain injury?
Yes.
Amon Gordon has dementia?
Yes.
In the testing that you've done, you've seen a cognitive decline.
Correct.
What does the future look like for Amon Gordon?
I would say bad.
No doubt about it?
There's no doubt about it.
I'm watching a person that I knew and fell in love with who is changing and becoming a person that I don't know. This damage has taken so much from him, so much, and fighting on top of it is just another huge layer of stress on our family. I mean, we shouldn't have to fight this huge institution when it's clear that this man has major cognitive damage. I live with him.
Gordon submitted his claim for his share of the NFL concussion settlement. In 2017, Chris Seeger, the attorney who negotiated the settlement on behalf of the players, said players with a legitimate diagnosis prior to the settlement effective date would get paid.
If you have a diagnosis of a neurocognitive or neuromuscular problem before that date, and it was done by a board-certified, legitimate doctor, those diagnoses will be honored in the settlement.
Has that been your experience?
No.
Absolutely not.
That couldn't be a further thing from the truth.
Board-certified neurologist diagnosed you with dementia, right?
Correct.
He was approved for a $1.5 million award in 2017.
All of a sudden, he was audited, and they wanted 5 years of medical records.
The claims administrator audited his claim. In that process, the AAP, a team of doctors working for the claims administrator, reviewed his claim and supported it. But then, the NFL objected and filed an appeal. Roxy Gordon wrote an impassioned letter to Judge Anita Brody, who was overseeing the entire case.
What did you say, and how did she respond?
I pleaded with her to take a deeper look into what's actually going on in the settlement, that something's not right. And I received no response at all.
A special master appointed by Judge Brody ruled in their favor that there's clear and convincing evidence that Gordon's diagnosis was not generally consistent with the qualifying diagnosis as defined in the settlement agreement. But they did not disclose what evidence they were referring to and still have not.
How do you make sense of that?
I can't. I don't get it. It's not a game. It's not a mystery. I have real physical data.
Gordon objected and appealed to Judge Brody. Judge Brody denied the appeal. In her denial, she wrote that Gordon was awarded due to an error in the claims process, despite the fact that he plainly did not meet the medical criteria for a qualifying diagnosis. But there is no explanation as to what the error in the claims process was, and what she refers to when she later writes, "The court is troubled by the events leading to this objection and has looked into the matter." The Gordons believe the error to which Brody refers is that race norms were not applied at first. The NFL in June said they would end the controversial practice referred to as race norming, a practice that made it harder for black retirees to show a deficit and qualify for an award. In a statement to NewsNation, the NFL says it appealed Gordon's case because his cognitive test scores were well above the settlement agreement's clear and objective score thresholds for the requisite neurocognitive impairment. But the Gordons say that's because race norms were applied, and his scores rose after they applied the settlement algorithm.
I believe Amon was race normed, and I believe they never had intentions on making good on his claims. I believe that the NFL can care less if he has brain damage or not. For matter of fact, I don't think they care about the large percentage of the players that are suffering from cognitive damage or what it's doing to their families.
So the Gordons appealed to a different court, the Third Circuit, in hopes for transparency and answers to why his claim has been denied. Their case seeks a ruling for the specific reasons his claims were denied.
You are seeking transparency, basically. You're just trying to figure out exactly why your case has been denied.
Yes.
Period.
Transparency. We're trying to figure out what happened because we were never given a valid reason for denial.
The Third Circuit canceled oral arguments in their case this June, and last week, one of the judges just recused himself from the case without comment.
In my case, there's some really strange occurrences that are happening. I just don't understand the opposition. If this settlement is generally created for us, why is there such opposition. Why is it such a secret? Who's being paid?
Release the data.
NewsNation has asked Chris Seeger, class counsel, for the data on awards, who has been paid, and how many were white, how many were black. Seeger has not provided that information.
I'm fighting the way I'm fighting because it's not just about Amon, and it's not just about black men, retired players with brain damage. It's about all of them with cognitive damage that played football in the NFL. There's no color when it comes to brain damage, you know? Brain damage is brain damage. And what I would like to see is everybody treated fairly in this concussion settlement. That's what I would like to see.
Rich joins us now, and it sounds, Rich, like there's a lot riding on this new appeal that the Gordons have made. Where does that stand?
Absolutely. This case is integral to the whole thing because they've appealed to the Third Circuit. The Third Circuit has power over the court that is presiding over this whole case. And if this court, the Third Circuit, rules in their favor, it's going to compel the current judge, Judge Brody, to open up their case and possibly a lot of other cases. If this Third Circuit rules against Amon Gordon, he's told me he's going to take the case all the way to the Supreme Court.
You know, I think Roxanne, his wife's comment, will probably resonate with a lot of people, and that is an overriding question from 30,000 feet. Why does it appear the NFL is fighting so hard against so many of these claims that have been diagnosed by respected doctors? These players have given so much, it seems like they would just say, we need to pay this and reward them for that.
Speak to people who've been dealing with this for the greater part of a decade, and they say it's about the dollar value increasing and the data points increasing. That points to more and more former NFL players having problems with this, and they just don't want that data out there.
Relatively speaking, though, expensive to the NFL considering how much money it makes. And how many players, were there 2,000, I think, who have filed for this, you said?
There's over 20,000 who've registered, approximately 3,000 who've actually submitted a claim package, and just over 1,000, I believe, have been paid. Now, important to note, a lot of the people say they haven't submitted their packages because there's this lockdown on this case, and they're waiting till it gets revamped or broken up.
A lot of things to be determined. We'll continue to follow it, I know, Rich, and you'll let us know how these claims end up, and if they do end up getting reinstated after the changes that have been made. Fascinating report. Rich McHugh, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move now to COVID. Mask mandates are back in the U.S. House of Representatives. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi donning a mask today as she met with the Iraqi Prime Minister. This after the top doc in Congress sent a memo ordering the change last night. It's also despite a 100% vaccination rate among House Democrats. Fewer Republicans got the shot. And as in Congress, there are varying vaccination rates across the country, as we know. In fact, Brian Enton joins us now from Miami with more on who's getting the jab and who isn't. Brian?
Well, Joe, we've been at this vaccination site, this drive-up site in Miami for most of the day. It has been busy. I've been here a couple of times over the last month or so. It was not nearly as busy as it was today. Many people saying they're concerned about the Delta variant. It's interesting when you look at the map of the entire country and you see areas that have high vaccination rates and then you see the areas with incredibly low. As of today, and these numbers do change literally day by day, Vermont is the highest in the entire country. Right now, they have an 84% vaccination rate. Mississippi is the lowest as of today, with just 39% of their population vaccinated. Doctors there today very worried as the hospitalizations continue to go up.
All right, Brian, thanks. If you can, before you go, just quickly tell us if the Delta variant is changing any minds there.
Yeah, it is from the people that we talk to. Absolutely. Like I said, the line's longer today than we've seen in a long time.
All right, Brian Enton, good to see you. Thanks for the report from Miami tonight. China appears to be building a network of silos for launching nuclear missiles. Our top voice on China is next. We want to know, what can the U.S. do about it? And Simone Biles drops out of another event. And we called it here on the Donlon Report, a little victory lap coming up. Compute this. If you have a computer chip, a shortage facing the U.S. as China's dominance grows. 20 years ago, the U.S. made nearly 40% of the world's computer chips. Today, it's just 12% as China has taken over the market. Some now saying the infrastructure bill should aim to boost domestic production. Joining me now, Gordon Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China and the U.S.-China Tech War. Gordon, this shortage is affecting a lot of supply chains from cars and phones to computers and even appliances. And this is happening in China as well, we should point out, which kind of gives you an indication of how bad this shortage is. What do you think happens moving forward, and how does our relationship with China impact that?
I think the most important thing for the United States to do is to build back our manufacturing capacity. And that's going to take some time. You know, Americans design the world's most sophisticated chips, but we don't make any of them. We can't make any of them. And this is just such a critical vulnerability, because as China tries to corner the market, and some people think they'll be able to make 40% of the world's semiconductors in the not too distant future, well, then we are going to be relying on a country which is quite hostile to the U.S. And clearly, this is just not acceptable. We've got to make our own stuff.
Yeah, and it shows our reliance. So you say we should. Why aren't we making more? It's an expensive venture, is it not?
It's expensive, but also, you know, Americans have thought, well, we should just do the things that are the highest value, which is designing chips, and that other people can make and manufacture the stuff that we design. There's certain logic in that, but the problem is that you eventually lose the capacity to design when you can no longer make. And clearly, in case of China, there's just the issue of national security, which overlays everything. So right now, for instance, our most sophisticated chips are made in Taiwan. Taiwan is threatened by China. And so we could end up with our enemy making our chips or cutting them off, as the case may be.
Right. When do you think this shortage turns around, Gordon?
I don't see it turning around for another year and a half or so. Clearly, we've got to accelerate the time frame, and our government moves much too slowly.
I'd seen 6 months, but you don't think it's happening that quickly, huh?
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by the end of the shortage. But I think that essentially we're going to find out that companies are still going to be scrounging for computer chips, and we're going to be paying more money for it for at least a year.
Yeah. Let's move to the diplomatic meeting that we had in China this week, where the U.S. met with Chinese officials who said we were looking for imagined enemies. And now there's word of China building what appear to be a network of silos for launching nuclear missiles, possibly hundreds of them. Is this more buildup, in your opinion, Gordon?
Well, certainly it is. I mean, it was stunning 3 weeks ago when we learned about the 119 silos that were being built in the Gansu Desert. And now we're learning about the possibility of 110 more silos in the Xinjiang Desert. And this is on top of the 14 that are now being built in Inner Mongolia. This means that China is probably moving away from this whole notion of minimal deterrent to maybe a war-fighting capability, which means that they may use nukes first or at an early stage of conflict.
Right, because that does go against what their stated policy has been.
Yes, well, they have. We've heard a number of Chinese generals, and we've heard state media, party media, threaten the use of nuclear weapons in conditions where clearly they were using first. So that completely undercuts this official no first use policy. We shouldn't rely on those pronouncements.
All right, let's shift to Hong Kong, Gordon. A protester has been convicted under a new national security law imposed by China to crack down on these demonstrations, and he could face life in prison. What sort of message do you think this sends?
Well, Beijing has imposed the national security law on Hong Kong, and they did that in June of last year for the purpose of intimidating protesters. So this is going to be a severe sentence. And we got to remember, Joe, that we're talking about legislation which is really the end of law in Hong Kong. Beijing can do whatever it wants. So, for instance, in the case you're referring to, there was no jury trial. And we're going to see the sentence is probably going to be determined at the highest levels in Beijing, not by a judge in Hong Kong.
Do you think we see any more of the protests that we had seen previously, or has that all been tamped down?
I think so. And the reason is that there's an insurgency in Hong Kong, and there's been one for quite some time. Now, insurgencies, we know from other places, can disappear for years at a time, but they come back again. And that's exactly what occurred in Hong Kong. We've seen a lot of resistance to Chinese rule. I think people in Hong Kong are intimidated, but at some point these things boil over, as we've seen in the mainland itself.
Yeah, speaking of boiling over, Gordon, I want to get you on one more point before we let you go. Things still heating up in the South China Sea. This is seems to be an issue you and I talk about every time we get together. But a top U.S. naval commander sees a shared relationship in the South China Sea, which definitely pushes back on China's claim. Do you still see this as one of your main flashpoints and concerns?
South China Sea, East China Sea, Ladakh, which is in India. There's all sorts of places along China's southern and eastern peripheries which could blow up. And of course, there's the place we just talked about, which is Taiwan. which is manufacturing all of these chips. So it can be anywhere, Joe, but South China Sea is an obvious candidate.
Yeah, all right. It's certainly something we'll keep an eye on, as we know you do. Gordon Chang, it's always great to get your update and insight on the happenings in China, and he is the author of The Coming Collapse of China and the U.S.-China Tech War. Gordon, again, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Joe.
Also, he's known as Saul Goodman from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Up next, we have some good news to share on actor Bob Odenkirk, rushed to the hospital yesterday. We're back with that and more after this. Earlier today, Olympian Simone Biles announced she would not participate in the all-around gymnastics competition at the Tokyo Games. It's now the second event Biles has withdrawn from after she pulled out from the team competition yesterday, she said, due to stress and her mental health as well. If you were watching our report last night, this withdrawal today might not have been a surprise. Take a listen. Simone Biles is still eligible for the individual events. Do you think we see her in a couple of days?
You know, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that she's just tired, tapped out. She's been through a lot mentally, emotionally, physically. So I think she's going to sit this one out.
And that's why we bring the experts on for their insight. They know. Let's hope Simone feels healthy, rested, and can make a recovery quickly. We'll keep an eye on that. And on the way out tonight, we are sending our best as well to actor Bob Odenkirk. The 58-year-old star of Better Call Saul on AMC collapsed on the set of his show yesterday and was rushed to the hospital. Better Call Saul, of course, a spinoff of the highly acclaimed series Breaking Bad. Odenkirk was introduced as Jimmy McGill, a slippery lawyer always looking for a con, until he transformed into a powerhouse attorney with a new name, which we find out in the series as a nod to his new mantra. It's all good, man. Hence, Saul Goodman. Bob's son said in the past hour his dad's awake and will be all right following his heart-related disease. That's our time for tonight. On Balance is next with Leland.